Well, it's season review time, and I think it's also about time for a progress report, don't you? We've got players who are improving and developing massively, and today is a chance for us to just stop off and have a look at how they're doing. We've also got to keep an eye on a Linfield story because today they could complete the objective that we had at the start of this save. Yes, hello and welcome along to part 139 of this Builder Nation story, Lifting Spirits with me, Daniel. We are back today for a season review, but not quite our usual one. Rather than focusing on a particular area or what we want to do in the summer, we are going to focus on a progress report here, partly because it's going to be important in determining where we really want to step up in the future, but also because I've taken a little bit of flack at times recently for saying that some players are or are near Premier League quality, and they are, but it's because they've improved so much since you've seen them regularly. So if you're looking forward to all of that, seeing what state our squad is in, then please do put a thumbs up on the video. Of course, the main other focus today is going to be Linfield, because our objective, as it was in any other Builder Nation we've done on this channel, was to get to the top of the domestic ladder and to win a European trophy. Well, today, Linfield might well do that and make history for this Northern Irish save and break our dreams by beating us to it. We got overshadowed in a banger save by Raith Rovers of Scotland going and winning the Europa League. Well, it could be Linfield who do it this time around. Are we ever going to be stars of the show? We'll find out that a bit later on, but firstly, let me run you through some housekeeping stuff, because our expectations for next year, as you would expect, are to win the league again. We are now finally expected to be the dominant force in Northern Ireland by the board. We've got a new contract for 3 years. All of that stuff is sorted out off the pitch, and financially, the club is in really good shape. As you'd expect, we've picked up so much prize money from the Champions League this year. We've got 30 million in the bank. I'm going to go for the facilities again. I'm going to try and get something on the stadium. Whether it works or not, I don't know. But as a result of that, for the first time, we've got a monster transfer budget and wage budget. Our transfer budget is now £17.8 million. Our wage budget has just trebled overnight, which may lead to some problems with trying to get people in. What I'm hoping is that rather than upping the top wages by a great deal, we'll just have a squad of better players who are all on roughly the same, rather than a few stragglers on a couple of hundred a week. And then maybe we can take a bit of a hit and try and gamble on some young players as well, get them in at a younger age and develop them to their prime. But overall, very happy with everything at the moment. Let's go and get ahead to the proper season review and of course see what the reaction of the board is to some of the requests I'm about to put in. Well, before we get to that, in fact, we've got a few bits of housekeeping to get through, because I've come back just 4 days later, having picked my provisional squad for the Euros for Northern Ireland, and we have got a lot going on at Lisburn Distillery, which isn't ideal when preparing for an international tournament. We've got a new chairperson who won the distillery elections. I'm sure that won't make much of a difference. We could finally get one that doesn't accept derisory offers for players, that would be great, but we'll keep our eyes on that for now. We go further down though, and you may have just noticed a bit behind my head here. Someone is considering me for their managerial role. Now, a few of you have asked before about what sort of jobs we get linked with, and the most we've had so far prior to this season was sort of Leicester and Sheffield United. They're clubs that are flitting between a Championship and Premier League. We also got considered for Celtic last summer, but this is a big step up. We have been considered for the Liverpool job, which I think shows you that Distillery are now moving in the right direction. If we are now getting that sort of coverage, that sort of reaction from big clubs, maybe that means Distillery are getting noticed too. Hopefully another reputation rise on the way. We've also had some reaction to our requests from the board. The first one was the stadium. It went as you expected. We need to be selling out our stadium more often before we can do that. I wish there was an option in here to bring it up to standards for European competition. There's my #1 mini feature request for FM next year. You can ask for an expansion, you can ask for a new stadium, but you can't ask for them to bring it up to level so we can play all our European games at home. There you go, SI. There's a little one to work on. Further down though, there is good news on some of the other stuff. Firstly, Luke Smith has extended his loan, which didn't look possible for much of the year. He is a brilliant player and it is great to have him along. We also got an upgrade to the youth facilities, 4 million quid being invested in that. That will take them from great to the next one, which should be excellent, maybe exceptional. I'm not sure what order it goes in. And then two below it, the same with the training facilities as well. This club is now pushing on to become an elite club. And in every sense other than fan base and stadium, we are well on our way to achieving that. We mentioned the domestic prize money is up too. There is so much good news. It feels like a real turning point for this country. And Northern Ireland, nearly in the top 25 leagues for competition reputation. Let's get ahead to the next update, which should be the end of season review, and see what everyone makes of our season. Because despite all of the noise from Linfield, we did win 5 trophies this year. Well, we had to wait a while. In fact, over another week. It's just one day until the Europa Conference League final now. But we are back, and look at this beautiful screen as we enter our season review. 5 trophies won. That is a first for this football club. And we were 1 away from that domestic clean sweep. But unfortunately, Linfield did us in that as well. Imagine if they win an Irish League Cup and the Europa Conference final as well. Let's go and get through the new arrivals, because this year was all about a massive changing of quality. Gavin Reid came in permanently after a number of loan spells, and he is one of the biggest developers in the squad. But Jordan Howard came in towards the end of the year. Big upgrade as a backup striker. With Lafferty going for $500,000 too, we're bringing money into the club. I've not lost that caution and that sense of financial management. Misalidis was a big loan addition. I'm hoping he'll reduce his wage demands when he goes out of contract. Jordan Gash, what a signing he was after loan. Paul Elliott signalled a massive step as well, bringing in players that are in our Northern Ireland setup. Kyle Cart in that category as well. And then you've got Owen Kidd, probably as the weirdest one. Still won't join us permanently because we've not got a big enough reputation. But no one else wants him. He's out of contract at Cliftonville. Is he just going to sit on there on his week-to-week youth contract and rot away? Does seem a little bit off. Kashif Beaton, one for the future, definitely looks a good sign-in. And if you compare it to the players that went out, with the greatest of respect, it was the end of another era. Archie Whitehall moved on. Jaffet and Pardy moved on. I mean, let's get a bit of perspective in the quality here. Curtis Bell, all great servants for this football club, as was Bobby Harvey. But they're a million miles away from what we've got at the moment. Jonathan McElhatton was another. He's available on a free transfer still. He's wanted by Glen Torrent. They've never been able to sign him. But when you look at the players we've bought in compared to them, I think you can see why we've gone to the next level. It started with Scully and Maraval Austin and even Damien Dunn before that. But now we've got virtually a whole team of them. And it is a great position to be in. We've got a few young players out on loan and a couple of squad stragglers as well. Morris Simpson is going permanently in the summer. But overall, a fabulous season. We won virtually everything we were in. We were just about beaten in the League Cup final on penalties. Linfield have still got that over us in the big games. Let's hope they do that in the Europa Conference final too. And in the Champions League, in our first attempt, we made it through the group and got knocked out narrowly by Lyon in a knockout playoff round. So a really good season. I won my favourite trophy. We almost did a domestic clean sweep. I did mention in a couple of the comments as well, this All-Ireland trophy has not existed since COVID in real life. So I'm not really sure why it's still in the game, but we won it anyway. I'm happy with that. Could do with 2 less games on the fixture congestion front. But if we get through the moments to remember, the biggest win was 9-1, and that was a big signal this year. So many 7s, 8s and 9s compared to before. We're really starting to dominate some of the bottom half teams. A 4-1 win is goal of the season against Derry City. We saw that on camera from Stephen Cowan as we booked our place in the Champions League groups for the first time. And the match to remember, it was always going to be one of those big home games in Europe. Fiorentina, a side that narrowly beat us in the Europa Conference 2 or 3 years earlier. And this time, armed with Johnnymaraval Austin and Jordan Gash, was a very different story. We've got quality and it showed. Let's get through the finances, which are excellent. It's so late the season review that we've not got the comparison on the revenue front. Annoyingly, it doesn't look like the club reputation has gone up just yet, but quite often it doesn't happen here and then it happens later in the summer. Last year it was on this page, but we are definitely making moves. Linfield might well overtake us again though if they do win that final. Our best 11, well, I mean, it's pretty tricky to pick, isn't it? They've gone for Carr over Stow at left back and Dunn over Jude in midfield, but otherwise that is our first 11. And as I mentioned before, the backup team always play against the easier teams generally, so you do get better ratings for them against some of the poorer sides. Mark Scully absolutely blitzed and embarrassed the goal record with 74 in all competitions, 30 of those in the leagues. They got Johnnymaraval lost in as Young Player of the Year, Kashif Beaton as Signing of the Season, Stephen Cowan Goal of the Season and 28 assists, which is a new record. We also get Mark Scully for Player of the Match awards, which is 12. And Miles Stow, the first man to pick up 2 red cards and 10 yellows in the same season for us. Mitsoulidis with fastest goal at 11 seconds as well. And this year's Youth Intake star was the man who became youngest player at the football club. History in the making as we win 5 trophies. Let's try and make it 6 next year. We might have to sacrifice 1 a year just to make sure we get good results in Europe. But for now, very happy with how that's gone. There's one more big story, isn't there? Tomorrow night, we've got a certain side Linfield in European action. Let's go and see how they get on, and then we'll go and do our squad progress report. Well, here it is. A bit of a precursor to the Euros in some ways. It's England v Northern Ireland, but this time it's West Ham v Linfield. They're playing at Besiktas Park in Turkey, and one of them will take the crown from Leeds as holder of the Europa Conference League. Now, the good thing is Linfield's manager likes to park the bus. When they're ahead, they very rarely let a goal in. And to be fair to them, they have got some big developing players as well. Plenty worth a little bit of money, despite the league having a lower reputation. And most importantly, you look at that squad, it is a good blend of ages. We've got some of the players in our Northern Ireland team. They're not quite West Ham level, but they're very good players. I mean, Mackie could go to a Premier League club and make an impact off the bench. I've no doubt in that. He's got the core attributes, and he's definitely got the quality. It's just whether they've got enough on a day like this. We've managed Zach Williams in the Premier League in the head coach, albeit he's slightly over the hill now. West Ham should win this game, but Linfield will be competitive, and if there's any arrogance on the other side, I'm going to trust them. Let's press continue. Cross your fingers, everyone. We'll see how this one finishes off. Well, we've been returned to our inbox 3 days later. We have no idea what the score is, and we've got loads of messages to get through. I think they can all wait. David Jeffrey, our director of football's retired. But what on earth has happened at Linfield? Let's go and have a look at their result. Ryan Dunn, the manager. Oh my words! They've broken our hearts and done the greatest thing for the nation, both in one go. Linfield have beaten West Ham on penalties. The part the bus manager as Jose Mourinho'd the final against a far stronger team. They've done the dream. They've done what we intended to do when starting this save. Oh, look at the stats. It is the ultimate smash and grab. West Ham 30 shots. Linfield had 1 on target. West Ham had over 3 expected goals, 2/3 of the ball. They missed a penalty in extra time as well. Shane Davis, their January signing in goal, a 9.7 out of 10 rating. And then they've won it on penalty kicks. That's ridiculous. Rory Lennon, our former player, scored one of them. And Linfield, don't forget, will be straight into the Europa League group stages next year as well. That's enormous. That is absolutely enormous. And I don't know how they've done it. Well, that's overshadowed anything we're going to do today, isn't it? We've got to the 31st of May. I will go back and give you the squad report we've got. But I can't lie, I'm a little distracted after that. Let's have a look at what we've got here at the moment and what we plan to do next season. Because I wanted to show you the development of some of these players. And you can see we've got massive potential with young players in the squad. But with our facilities and our coaches in now, we are finally starting to see players develop towards it. So when I say that players are on the cusp of Premier League quality, I do genuinely mean it now. And I'm going to give you a few examples of that because Gavin Reid at right back is one of them. He came in on loan and was playing under-19 football for England. He's been with us a few years now, and this one is the first one as a permanent signing. We signed him for 1.2 million, and I feel he's not far away from being brilliant. Yes, if you look at his attributes, it doesn't look amazing because he's not got any of those big 16s or 17s. But everything that's important to his role is between 13 and 15. And if he develops to his potential, which you'd suggest, means he can get an attribute point or two more out of everything. With a fairly professional personality, with quality fitness, physicals, and mentally being very solid, I could see him being an absolute superstar. And I don't think there's going to be many Premier League fullbacks better than him when he gets to the top level. Don't forget we bought him in because we lost a right back in Victor Akumu, who we thought was going to be brilliant. Well, I think actually we've stumbled on something because we've built someone from not being brilliant first team level, not even being a sure starter in the team, to now being a first name on the team sheet and possibly a future England international. We look over on the left-hand side as well. I know a couple of you have mentioned signing a new left-back, but I've got an option who is, of course, a backup who is now a Northern Irish international. He's my number 2 fullback for Northern Ireland as well. He's a solid player. I've got to think of that side as well. But Miles Stout on that side is taking a similar journey too. Former under-19 international. He's 21. He's now going to be homegrown at the club as well, which is huge. And look at him, he's not far away. Maybe not quite got the same balance as Reed and maybe 1 or 2 points off in certain areas. But overall, we've got a very similar player. And he is a bit aggressive, he gets the odd red card, but we've definitely got 2 fullbacks who are pushing towards Premier League level. Luke Smith, in my opinion, is virtually already there. Maybe a little bit on the physical side is what's costing him. If he had his normal attributes and then maybe a 15 for acceleration and strength, I think you'd probably call him a Premier League fullback. But again, we've got 3 England youth internationals in our back 4, which cannot be a bad sign. Add to that Duncan McKenzie, who is now homegrown at the club, who is now here permanently and still improving. He's not quite Premier League level, but we might have an upgrade coming in that area. More news to come in the next episode. If we go further down into midfield, even players we signed who were experienced are now playing better and developing with regular football. So Jude at 28 is still improving. He looks an absolute superstar now. Very easily a top championship midfielder. Stephen Cowan on the right wing has surprised everyone. He's got the core attributes, and while he's not the best crosser of the ball, he's got frightening natural fitness and pace, and he's a good player. I just wish he'd declare for Northern Ireland. We've then got Paul Elliott as a homegrown option behind him. Great to be able to bring him back to Northern Ireland. And when you consider that people like Damien Dunn are not good enough to start regularly now, I mean, if you took him to the Luton team at the start of the save, he'd probably get in it. And that tells you the level that we've developed to now. So really pleased to see that. Kashif Beaton is going on to the next level too. At 20, he's going to be a superstar. But he's... Oh! Now we've just had an interesting dilemma here. Linfield have won the Europa Conference League and it looks like they want to go big. Because Kashif Beaton is one of our best young players. He came from United last summer and has had a good year, not a spectacular one. And now Linfield are looking at signing him. I'm going to need your thoughts in the comments on this because I have an opinion. If Linfield come in for our top players, I feel we have to sell them now. Because we need to push on the nation. And if we can guarantee that Linfield are spending their money well, and we can then invest in getting good players, because we know we'll get replacements, then I have no problem with that. I was going to say he's a star of the future of this club, but he might be a star of Linfield instead. More on that to come later in the summer. And then up front, the 2 I get criticised for talking about are Mark Scully and Johnnymaraval Austin. Now, Mark Scully has been on and off linked with Derby County, who have just been promoted to the Premier League and had been in a championship promotion race all season. He's 4-star ability. We know he scores goals for fun. I genuinely believe that he could do a job for me in the Premier League. Maybe his heading ability doesn't match his jumping reach, but any striker who has got 13 to 14's top championship level attributes as an advanced forward running in behind, who is then 6'8" and has a massive jumping reach and is naturally fit, is going to be a massive handful at any level. If you gave me him in that Hemel side with Ricky J. Jones last year, we'd be competing a lot earlier than we were. I have no doubt that this boy is a superstar, and I would happily take him at a Premier League club in the bottom half. Johnnymaraval Austin is similar, had a few games at Spurs, actually played some Premier League matches, and while he's been hampered a bit by injury, he's another former England youth international, and he's another one where you look at the attribute page and you say it doesn't look amazing, but then if you can get that little tiny bit more development out of them, you are 1 attribute point away from having 16 dribbling, 16 pace, 16 flair technique, 16 agility, 13 finishing. And then you suddenly look at it and say, oh, actually, he's a very good player. What's also important about this squad now, and you'll have noticed it with Reed, with Maraval Austin, and with a few of the others too, they're fairly professional. We're building that squad personality up. The long-term effects of mentoring are finally working out for a few of them. And we have got some good leaders at the club now who can help the next lot as well. Add to that, we've got a few players coming through with the potential to match these guys in the future. And things are starting to look pretty good here at Lisburn Distillery. So you can let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree. You might think I'm still overstretching a bit, but I'm going to say now that for the majority of that 11, if you could give me a goalkeeper from the Premier League that's not homegrown in the nation, I reckon we could stay up in the Premier League with most of that first 11. Of course, some areas of the squad and the backups are nowhere near, but we have got to meet our homegrown quotas for the league, and the squad restrictions are pretty tight in Northern Ireland. 20 players can be registered, and 8 of them have to be homegrown in Northern Ireland. That's why having players who are homegrown at the club is important, because they don't have to be registered. For every one of those, you're basically getting a bonus player on top of the 20. And looking ahead to next season now, with Simpson and Lafferty off, we'll be able to register Howard. There's the one spot gone. What do we do after that? We have got a chance to sign some players homegrown in the nation, but it will weaken other sides in the division as well. So particularly those who are in European qualifying, I do want to wait as late as possible. But I'm looking at the squad at the minute and thinking, we're in pretty good nick. And I have got no doubt we're going to continue to dominate domestically. Unless Linfield spend their prize money very well, because they have shocked the save by winning this one. We have managed to overtake them though on the play in front, and we are also doing so on the staff in front. I'm just going to run you through this very quickly because I always stress the importance of it. We've got a few people who are off today, have just been released, and a few that will be tomorrow. So Declan Havey, the coach, is going to go. We also know that David Jeffrey, the director of football, has retired. We're also going to lose Sammy Klingon, our assistant, and our head of youth development, Chris Keenan. So it's another summer where we're going to have a bit of upheaval, but we're bringing in quality people. Ashley Hines is our new goalkeeping coach. Mentally superb, technically very good. If you go further down, last summer, we brought in Bram Gears from Belgium, who's a top fitness coach. On the other coach in front, we have brought in 2 or 3 this season. We mentioned McBeal before. We mentioned Tommy Elphick, Jared Harvey, another one. We're expanding this squad all of the time. There's a few staff who are being, well, tapped up, I would say, by Derby, who have just gone to the Premier League. But we'll find our replacements. Don't you worry about that. We'll have a bigger update to come on that front in a summer transfer special. But there's only one thing I can finish off on after this summer, and that is the coefficients. Because Linfield have just won the Europa Conference League. We got to the Champions League knockout round, and that is going to have one seismic impact. And to be fair, when we went out of the Champions League, we were still going to be in 16th, 17th and not get that second spot. If you have a look ahead to what's going to happen from next season, Northern Ireland, who are in 17th, are about to go on a little trip, because this season, 13.875 coefficient points, one of the top 5 or 6 performers in Europe. We are going to jump up massively, and we're going to be up in 14th place, which means, in qualification places terms, 2 teams in a Champions League. The League Path second qualifying round means Linfield will only have to win 1 game to guarantee European group stage football, or they can keep winning trophies and qualifying automatically. We will go in at the 3rd qualifying round. The Europa League will also see 1 entry, and I'm not sure where that will be. Is it a qualifying round, whatever? But we'll have 1 team in there regardless, and then we'll have 2 more in a second qualifying round at the Europa Conference. 5 teams in Europe, nearly half the division. That's going to make an impact too. An extra team to get that European money and try and build their coefficient up. If the league reputation keeps improving, so will the players' values, so will the reputation of the clubs, and hopefully they can bring a bit more money in. The club coefficient lists look absolutely brilliant. Linfield are going to be flying up that table anytime soon. We go down to Northern Ireland just to show you quickly. Linfield this season, 22.5 points. They're catching us quick. We're on 39.5, going up to 58. And Larne, while they're taking a little hit, will probably still be in and around the top 100. They're losing a big year next year, so hopefully they can go bigger, because at the moment, they've put in a couple of pretty big transfer bids. I'm interested to see what happens this summer. If Linfield are going for players like Beaton from us, we're going to have a very exciting year in Northern Ireland. If you're looking forward to finding out how the summer goes and seeing us in action at the Euros against both England and Scotland, then please do put a thumbs up on the video. We'll be back for that in a couple of days' time before the summer transfer special later in the week. It promises to be an enthralling summer, but before that, we're back with the head coach tomorrow. You can find that playlist in the eye above, as well as the brand new top 3, as I talk about superstitions with you. More to come on that front this Sunday. And thank you very much for watching as always, supporting the show. It makes a massive difference all the time. The channel update for the podcast is up there as well. Any other links down in the description below. And I'll see you back here in 2 days' time as we see some of our distillery players and some of the new Linfield heroes against England and Scotland at Euro 2036.